Good day to everybody in TV land. This is Mike Hittner with Historic Point Basse Update. Today, joining me and to my right is Tom Rimmer. Welcome, Tom.
Good morning.
And we're going to talk about some past events, some upcoming events, and let you know what's happening at Historic Point Basse. We're going to recap right now our Winter Feast, which was on February 18th, Saturday, from 4 to 8 p.m. Tom, give us a kitchen perspective. Tell us a little bit of what you were cooking and that sort of thing.
Well, we did a lot of wild game and domestic meat. We did a lot of vegetables. We did squash with an apple cider kind of a little glaze with it. It was really good. Sauerkraut. We did roasted root vegetables, very old-fashioned sweet potato, rutabaga, that sort of parsnip, turnip, onion sort of a thing. We did barbecued coon. We did venison stew. We did elk lasagna. We did cabbage rolls made with beaver. Then, of course, mashed potatoes, gravy, dressing. We did some au gratin potatoes, and then we did ham and chicken. There was a good deal of kind of the quick breads. There was some homemade lefse. There was biscuits, cheddar, garlic biscuits, and then a bunch of desserts, bread pudding, cranberry cake, and then some almost like Danish pastry sort of things.
Yeah, the Apollonia,
Yeah.
Biersnicks brought in some ethnic things. I think
Yeah.
that she had made up,
Ooh.
Latvian or German or whatever.
Really good.
Yeah, it was good stuff. And from the hall part of it, it was a great success. We had actually put up 2 extra tables. We set for 160 folks, and we had about 174, 176 people there. So we put up 2 tables as the evening went on. We had dancing. In fact, I talked to one gal that was from Stevens Point. She was leaving. I think it was the first time there. And she said she came for the dancing and the beaver. And that's the 2 things she came for. And she danced up a storm. There was probably 24 dancers at least, danced for probably 30 minutes, a good 30 minutes, and enjoyed it thoroughly. I mean, there was young people, there was some older folks, there was some in between, there were some people in fact, most of them were in costume, which this group that visited us, I believe from Hillsborough or someplace, a whole bunch of them, 6 or 7, came in costume. So that was good to see that we always encourage people to participate and come in costume and be a part of the evening. And I think we had more people in costume at our Winter Feast, the one that just passed, than we've ever had, I think
so.
over the years. So it was a great success. We want to thank everybody that came. And for those that didn't make it, we want to certainly invite you to next year's Winter Feast to be about the same time in February 18th, 19th, 17th, somewhere in that weekend. And let you know that it'll be also at Nakusa Community Center, a great facility. We'd like to thank Dan Schmidt and the whole crew there. That nice job they did and made the facility wide open to us from Friday on so we could get in there and do all our work. And just a great facility to hold it at. I've got a lot of great comments from it.
And I want to thank all the volunteers. I can't imagine doing that with anywhere near less than the people that we had. I mean, it was many of our people came out and really spent a long time and really pulled hard, and it worked very well.
We had different volunteers both on Friday and Saturday, and then some on both days, probably I'd say almost 2 dozen total.
Oh yeah, at least.
You know, and I did mention a few at the dinner. I mentioned some of the major ones, but there was many others that weren't mentioned that also had participated and spent a lot of time getting the food ready. Because not only is it with some of our professional chefs, which I consider Tom and Scott and Jackie, but it's the people behind the scenes that are cutting and chopping and putting things together that make that whole thing really work.
And some of those folks are very talented, I'll tell you. They've got a food background. I didn't even know about some of them till later, that they really have had a background in food preparation, and it surely showed.
I especially enjoyed your comment to me, Tom. I think it was either on Saturday night or it was on Monday morning when we're unloading. You said, without Scott, you said you would have been done.
I'd have been dead. His timing, because he does catering as part of his work. I'm used to serving it plate by plate. That's was my background for my whole life working in restaurants. But his is more, you get it all done at once. and then you put it out and people eat it. And it sounds the same, but it's not. It's a whole nother mindset. And without Scott there, we'd have been in trouble. He did just a bang-up job.
And what Tom is talking about in layman's terms is that you got to get all this stuff ready, and so it's ready to go at the same time.
And not overdone.
And not
So,
overdone,
right there.
and so it's the coordination of the ovens and how you cook it, when you cook it, and so that it all can coordinate. So at 5:15 when we served, it was ready to go.
Yep.
We also like to thank Community Theater. The Silver Foxes were there, did a nice skit on Irma Bombeck, went over real well, and it was a nice addition to our evening. And then we also had a great band led by Tom DeWitt and his group, I think.
Under the Bus.
Under the Bus, it's called. Glenn Reynolds wasn't there, but his girlfriend was there, and so we had lots of great entertainment. I think a number of people remarked to me the music was great. Some of the songs they hadn't heard for years, they heard and they enjoyed that type of music. So thank you for everyone that attended, and we'll look forward to seeing you next year. Now, one thing we got coming up before we start talk about our Sugar Bush is that on March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, we're going to be at Wisconsin Rapids Home Show. The Rapids Area Home Show will be held at the Yonkers Building, second year in a row. Last year was there. We're in the shoe department. If you remember where the shoe department was in Yonkers, that's where our booth will be, and we invite everybody to come. They're going to have lots of activities going on, lots of demonstrations and things like that. One of our own, Larry Knutson, is going to do a what is table, and he's going to do that as a separate announcement or program that the community Rapids Home Show builders wanted to have. They wanted to have something. They've got scheduled times for different things, and Larry volunteered to do his what is this table there. He'll also do that at the booth too for everybody to see. So that'll be March 3rd. I believe that's 5 to 9, and March 4th, 10 to 5, 9 to 5, and Saturday, March 5th, will be from 10 to 4. So if you get a chance, come out, whatever the weather's like. It's nice to get out of the house, and we like to support the Wisconsin Rapids area community, the home builders. They were the early supporters of Historic Point Basse. When we first started, they put the money up. Dave Teskey and some of the people in that organization put the money up, came forward, and that's why we are where we are today. I think if a number of us would have started, Tom and I especially, and we would have talked about doing what they were going to do, they had the background and the knowledge, and they could do this sort of thing, and it was a whole group, and that's why Nakusa Papers accepted their offer to take it over and form this organization. A couple individuals wouldn't have done it. They would have tore that building down, and we wouldn't have had any house there that we're now portraying and showing as the Wakely House in the 1840 to 1860 era. So welcome to the home show, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of March. Our next event will be our Sugar Bush, Wakely Sugar Bush, and that's at the site. That's our first event of the year at the site, and that's March 25th from 10 to 4. $3 for adults, $2 for children. Tom, give us an idea of what you do in the cabin on Sugar Bush.
Well, I'm going to be making some what they call maple taffy or maple candy, and it's made on snow or maybe crushed ice, depending on how much snow we have in the end of March. But when you cook maple syrup, and as you're headed towards maple sugar, what modern people call the softball stage, when you boil it to 235 degrees, give or take, you can take it and drizzle it onto some compacted snow or crushed ice, and it will form a soft, fairly hard, but not brick hard candy. And we're going to make some of that in the cabin.
Did you try that last year, Tom?
Yeah, and it didn't work so well. But
what was the issue?
It crystallized. I have to do now small portions,
Okay.
and I have to do it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they come, maybe we can just, rather than do the candy piece by piece, we'll do a bunch of it and then hand it out. And when we need some more, we'll do some more. It crystallized last year, which was still good.
Right.
Rock candy made from maple syrup is wonderful,
yes,
but it wasn't what we wanted to portray. We'll also be doing, we'll be doing 3 different stages of maple syrup, in history.
3 different eras.
Right. Thank you. The Native Americans made it without any metal containers, and we're going to really work on trying to get that presentation down. We did really well with it last year. There's just one or two little tweaks, and we've got that down.
And would you explain that a little bit, Tom? What are they using, hot stones? Or
hot stones, and also at night, they would let it cool off, and it would form a skim of ice on their log that they were using as a vat.
So they take that
They would take that ice off because the sugar would have settled, and then they take that off, throw it away, and start. It even concentrates during the evening. They then make it into maple sugar. There's a thing with wooden bowls sitting on stones that are hot to finish it that last little bit. We'll then probably go to one where it would be some of the first Europeans doing it with metal containers, but they're smaller. It's the small family type of thing, or the Voyager travelers that would have made some maple syrup for their own use.
They're not doing smaller commercial, they're just
right,
for their own home.
Smaller use in their camp or whatever, because they can.
Yes.
And then we'll go to the big cauldron, like we think of the Vermont maple syrup ads, you know.
Yes.
And we've got a couple of those, and we'll be making maple syrup as a community would have, or maybe the Wakely family at their settlement would have.
Now, when we talk about the Native Americans and the wood hollowed out log that we're gonna make it in, we're talking about they would make maple syrup, but they would go a stage below that,
Right,
beyond that.
right. When it gets to the syrup stage, it starts to burn on the rock, so you got to stop. Then you take it. We've got some wooden containers that the guys have made, look like a wooden salad bowl sort of thing, relatively thin bottom, and they put a rock over the fire, a nice flat rock, so the rock is their heat source, so you don't burn the wood container up. They also did it with clay pots, but we don't have yet the clay pots of the right kind to put into the ashes of a dying fire to heat it like that. That's a real specialty kind of ceramics. Hopefully we're going to find some. Maybe we'll have some by then, but the idea is that they did it some with ceramics and some with wood, depending on their talent and the type of things that were used by a particular group of Indians.
And then they eventually would want to get down to what we call maple sugar.
Once it gets thick enough, then they start stirring it.
Right.
And it's making the crystals. As they stir it, it kind of gets to looking like peanut butter. And then it sort of crystallizes into what looks like brown sugar. It's not. But it's that same consistency, and then that'll get hard.
Yeah. Because they had no way of storing it like
Correct.
we do. We think of canning it or whatever way we can preserve it. The Native Americans had to put it down into sugar form because it would go moldy on them, or
Right.
they would have issues with it. So that's how they did it.
Preservation for them was drying, whether it's meat, vegetables, or maple. They had to dry it to preserve it for any period of time.
Now the Wakeleys and maybe didn't have a canning process yet in the years we are interpreting them as, but they also had an ice house. So of course we cut ice in the end of January at Nepco Lake, and they would have stored things in the ice house to keep it cool, whether it was milk or maybe maple syrup or something like that, and they could keep it for a longer period of time, probably almost for year round until it got cool again, and then it would be okay outside. I did bring along, Tom, some taps here. We got some old taps.
Oh, yeah.
We've got some people have donated to us. These are made out of wood, a couple different lengths, and this goes part, of course, into the tree, and then the pail would hang over
Right.
the bucket on the end here,
At a slight angle, so it would,
drain off.
Yep.
And got another couple here. Some people are kind enough to donate to us. Now this is a little more modern one because it's a wooden one, but it has a little thing here, but it's got a little metal hook put on it. So we know that's a later, we certainly didn't have metal hooks available in those days. And then we've got some that Tom, I think, in fact, manufactured.
Yeah, these are made of sumac. The pith on a sumac tree or bush is relatively soft, and you can use a hot piece of metal or whatever, or a sharp bone, and you can gouge that out and make a tap not so different than these, but these are more handmade.
sort of thing. And then we go into a more modern era where we got the metal taps here, and that's an older metal one. And of course, then we go into the more modern metal taps. Most of these come out of Canada. Of course, Canada is the big producer of maple syrup in the world, and they go like that. And then we get a little more modern. We got the rolled tin ones. You know, these ones, that goes in the tree, and then they got some openings here for hanging hooks and putting buckets on them. That's a little more modern even than these cast ones. This is a rolled one. And then we go into the more modern age, and we get the nylon ones. We're showing you these. These you wouldn't be using at the Wakely site, but just to show you what the modern people use. This is a nylon one with a hook built onto it. So it goes into the tree, and then the sap would come out here. And then we get to the real modern era. Anybody that taps a lot of trees usually does this nowadays. This is a tap that goes in there. As a hose goes on to there, and then it goes to a central collection spot. Now they could have a bucket, a barrel, depending how much they're doing. Some people run thousands of feet of hose, and it goes to a processing site where they've got a big tank where it all goes down to that. If these people are into major production, that's what they're going to use. So we kind of went through the eras here of the different taps and everything. One of the things also we'll be doing is in the house, we'll have silver dollar buckwheat pancakes with real maple syrup, and like to invite everybody out. Now we got to caution you, this isn't a breakfast, this is a taste. Some people come out and think they're going to have breakfast with us. Well, we'd like to have you out for breakfast, but we just can't make that many pancakes for everybody. So these are silver dollar pancakes with pure maple syrup, and it's a buckwheat flour that we use, so it gives you a tradition, an idea of what the old time flours and the grains were used in those days. Buckwheat's a very, excuse me, a very cool weather crop. Grew well in this area. Buckwheat and rye, wheat were on the fringe of it up here. There was some certainly, I think Wisconsin, one of the major wheat producers at one time, the southern part of the state. But the northern part where we are in central and northern Wisconsin was more buckwheat and rye, maybe a little bit of wheat here and there sort of thing. So you'll get that in the house. They'll be also displaying and showing different crafts and weaving and different things like that you can talk to the ladies about, and they'll be happy to show you and even let you participate in some of it, which is kind of the fun thing. We're kind of a living history site, and we like to have the hands-on. And also when you go to the three-bay shed, there'll be some carpentry work going on that people can help participate in, or they can watch it. The barn will be open. I don't think any animals this time of year. The animals are hibernating yet, so they're not out there yet. So we're gonna have, but we'll demonstrate the barn and the different utensils and tools in the barn, and also, you know, grinding of the corn, the shelling of the corn, and that sort of thing. The blacksmith will be on site, so we'll get some blacksmith demonstrating, and also the schoolhouse will be shown fully, and always in the schoolhouse they do some project for kids and everything. So it's going to be a great day, March 25th, from 10 to 4 at the Historic Point Basse site. You can't miss us now. We got a beautiful sign donated by Humpke Elementary from the Coosa School Board, donated it to us. They got a new automatic digital one, and we got the old hand one, but it's lit up now. You can see it when you go by at night. Now I don't hear anybody talking to me that, hey, we missed that corner.
Yeah.
Where were you guys? Especially like on Spirit Walk evenings, you'd hear these stories about people drive all the way down to Devil's Elbow or something and say, where is that Wakely site? But now we got this beautiful lit sign out there that it's already changed. We changed it for the March 25th event, our Sugar Bush, so it's already out there. Plus we've got a standalone sign on the Z and 73 where we've got the sign, and it's also up and it's telling people about what's going to happen. So we'd like to invite you out. Anything else, Tom, you want to talk about for the event?
I think we pretty well covered it.
We've got a lot of people that volunteer at the site, and so there'll be all these demonstrations are going on at the same time. The big cauldron behind the three-bay shed, they'll be cooking down the sap that's been collected either at the site or from some people that volunteered it. Now the weather, when you're probably watching this, has been pretty warm. and these trees are running real early. So by March 25th, we probably are storing sap to use because the time of running will probably be over by then. I'm thinking that I don't imagine it's going to run for a month or a month and a week or so. So we'll save that sap and we'll use it in the cauldron. We'll also use it in the wood, hollowed out wood one, the kind of the Native American style, and then also in the round containers, the smaller containers. So I think that'll be a good way for you to see it and come on out to the site. It's good. We got a kind of a cabin fever, time to get out of the house, folks. Come on down to Historic Point Basse. Also, as Tom has always mentioned, wonderful time for you folks if you want to get a little more one-on-one and talk about something specifically. We're not so busy like we are at the Summer Pioneer Festival. We got time to talk to you about things and about what maybe your father or grandfather did or something like that. We can reminisce and talk to you about those things. Also, come on out, great day, March 25th, Wakely Sugar Booth, 10 to 4, $3 for adults, $2 for students. Thanks, folks. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Mike.